Hello and welcome back to our next episode of Building a Christmas Tree. If you missed the last episode, I'll show you quickly what we did, but I'm edA-qa mort-ora-y. I work at Fuse on the animation and layout engine for our tool. And for this holiday season, we decided we're going to build a Christmas tree. And so this is where we were from yesterday. We'll just get off, show you a quick demo. We have a tree, and we have some bulbs. And you can add them to the tree. Very basic. We could switch to the candles, and we can add some candles to the tree. I gotta increase the selection box. That was pretty hard to click. You notice the candles are adding at the top. We want to place them at the bottom, so that's an error we have to fix. And we're going to close this, and you can also add snow to the scene just by clicking at the top. This is about where we were. What this was a simple demo of clicking and adding the arrays to our model in the background, and we also we're using a page control up here to do things. You can actually see you can swipe back and forth, and a few buttons. We're going to have to switch this a bit today because we want to fix the way candles work, and I have a few more items to add. More importantly, what we want to add today are presents under the tree. So when you click down here, you get presents. This is probably still just creating snow that you can't see. So that's what we're hoping to do today. And if we have enough time, we could fix the palettes. But if we have enough time, you notice in the background, Santa Claus is now missing. The sleigh's not there. And I'm not going to scroll go wider because I actually had to file the defect still that if I open this too wide, it crashes for some reason. I do not know why. It's not supposed to. And so I took the little Santa Claus thing out here and I put it in a separate graphic, and maybe we can make him fly across the sky today. I think I forgot to rotate him correctly, but we'll worry about that when we get there. So again, if you have any questions during the show, just ask. If you just want to say Merry Christmas, feel free as well. And otherwise, I'm going to start getting into the coding of putting the presents on the bottom. And I'm actually going to clear the snow, show the last feature, because we have this issue again that I'm still working on my MacBook, and the falling snow, the continuous animation, and me running Fuse Preview and everything all together, that was just getting to be too much for my little laptop. I'm not sure what the solution is to that yet, but we'll figure that one out sometime. Get everything else closed, nothing should interrupt us. I'm unfortunately back to my noisy keyboard as well. I tried yet another one. Tried a couple keyboards. The one broke. The one was loud, despite being called silent. So now I'm back to the noisy one, and hopefully I'll get a new one again soon. Now, what do we want to do? So the main view, the way we did this before is we put these separate panels out. We had the falling snow panel, and the trees we didn't put in a different panel. We stuck them directly in the main item here, which I'm not clear why we didn't separate this out, but maybe it's a good idea to start putting this in a different place. I'm not sure yet. Let's worry about where do we want to put the presents. We want to put them in front of the tree here at the bottom. So let's make this part of the tree panel. These have to be in front, so they're going to go on top. But sometimes you don't actually want to do that. Sometimes you want to actually have the stuff at the bottom. And you can do something like a z offset equals 1. So this will be in front of its siblings then instead. This is a convenient way of doing that. I'm going to say alignment equals bottom and height equals... Boy, this is going to be hard because I don't really know exactly where that is. The tree's height is 20%, has a margin of 30. You know what, let's just do 30%. See how this works out. And just visualize where this is. Let's put a color on it for now, just so I can see where this is. Okay, this is because this one has a margin. This margin should probably go on... yeah, we put the whole tree down there. Well, let's put this one here. Put this margin over here. And we'll just say alignment equals bottom instead. Not center. There we go. And you notice the tree hopped at first. That's not an error in the layout edge or anything, then. That's just the way preview sometimes works. It's going to see part of these changes at once. It goes through and updates its tree, so you get intermediate states. It saves us from having to reload the file entirely. Okay, so this height looks a little bit off. I mean, it's going to be based on like how big the scene is, though, which is really going to be a problem. Let's just, you know what? Let's honestly just not worry about it right now. There are ways to fix this using, if we fix the background size, but I'm actually going to have to think about it. This is an interesting problem, how we can divide this up to be logically in the correct place. And actually, let's reduce it to 25, because this should really be in front of the tree. And there's ways to fix it, but we're going to have to figure that one out a bit later. Don't want to get sidetracked here. So these are the panels for the GIFs. And we're going to do basically the same thing. We're going to create something called GIFs. Each, and these are still going to be an image. These will probably have a height on them as well. How do we want to do this? Let's just say, let's just give them a fixed size for now. Let's just say they're 5%. We'll see how big this is, and then we'll figure it out later. And we'll do the same trick with source data to resource, and they'll each have an image as well. And you notice this is very, well, pretty much exactly the same, other than the size of the ornaments, which is what we want. I mean, there's no surprise here that this is going to be the same thing. The anchor will be different because the boxes tend to be anchored at the bottom. Maybe not entirely due to their rendering, but you'll see that soon enough. And there has to be a clicked here somewhere. Where did we put the clicked handler? On the image. Okay. So this panel here has to have a clicked handler as well. Clicked equals add gift. And we should probably get rid of that color. Right, and it's going to complain about GIFs not existing yet in add GIF because we haven't created them in there yet, and that's totally fine. And if I look back at the main view, let's take a look at what GIFs do we define. I didn't put any of the boxes in. Okay, so we're going to have to create the resources for them first. Let me go back to my panel, throw this into the background. I said throw this into the background. So keys, I'm still never used to them on Mac. Assets, there's 4 GIFs, starting at 1 again for some reason. Source, and we'll just make a link to them. And we're doing this so we can get the GIFs separated from the JavaScript. So it's the UX that totally controls what the files are, and the JavaScript will just work with indexed references. And so we'll map it to 0 here because that's more sensible. And whether the file name should start at 0 or not, who knows. We'll just map them the way we want them here, though. Yeah, if I map them correctly. So we have the 3 GIFs, and then in the state we just listed them. These are the logical listings, and I still haven't thought of the perfect way to actually make sure these lists are in sync. And without having some external tools, I'm not positive we could do it. You could do this entirely in JavaScript with loading the resources, but I really want the files bundled a different way, and I really want the resources. So we'll just hard code this for now. But what we also need is we need a gift. And it's going to look much like the ornament constructor, x, y, image. We'll ignore the height for now. Start image equals image. And let's go down to add gift. Oh, you know what we're going to need again. Ah, man, I really wish I could fix this problem. We need a place thing here as well when this panel is placed. Gifts placed. Gifts placed, and we'll put it down here as well. So gifts placed GIF size equals, oh, pressed the wrong key. Anybody know how to, that's how, you just use the other control key. I was convinced that Mac has just 3 control keys. I don't know what they're called, and I always stuck with them, a German keyboard, and now I'm using a Windows keyboard, so I really get confused as to what the keys are actually called, symbol names, so I don't know, it's just really weird. Y is args.height. And so when we add the GIF, we could probably start at the exact same place as add snowflake. Should this be abstracted? This is hard to say. Is this actually the same, the exact same code, or is it just incidental because we have it so simple that it just looks exactly the same? We have enough differences here to make it different, but again, they're similar enough that you might want to abstract it. But given that we have to instantiate a type, yeah, it starts becoming a little more difficult. I don't know, anybody, yeah, maybe you could do it. Can you do something like new t and pass as a type in JavaScript? I actually haven't done that before. So since it's still simple enough, I am not going to worry about whether this is the ideal way or not, if it can be abstracted. And we also had up here this .gifs equals this. And we just select a random GIF. Let's just leave it random for now. We don't need a palette for everything. And was this enough? Was this enough to get us working? No, it didn't look like it. Cannot read property of X. Oh yeah, because this is the same problem we had before. Because we haven't actually done a re-out, and because of the refi, we haven't got that placed in. Okay. This is actually the tree stuff still working. This is not the GIFs. Why is the GIFs not working? Yeah, it's not working because I have a panel with no color in it now, and there's nothing to hit, so we actually have to specifically write over, say the hit test is the local bounds. Wow, and 5% is going to be really small. It's not going to be a fun Christmas this year. We have way too small GIFs. Okay, so let's clear that. So 5%. The reason this is tiny is because this is going to be 5% of the space at the bottom. Not 5% of the height of the whole screen. So since we said the height's 25 and it's a quarter of it, this would be more like 20% would be the size we want. And it didn't reload though. Let's try this, refresh. Okay. I don't know why it didn't reload. It's one of those rare cases which it didn't, so it just got confused. So these are still quite small, but you see we can actually add the GIFs, and they're placed in about the right place. But this is where we may actually want to play with the size bit, is that, well, you know, let's put some like pseudo perspective in here, is that this image doesn't really have depth, but we could actually make a little bit of depth. We could say the height is, so these are the smallest ones, and as y goes down, let's just make it get bigger. Plus y times, I don't know. I wonder if we can add percentages. I haven't tried that. We'll find out. So let's just add it. As it gets to the front, let's make it get much bigger. How much bigger should it be? Let's make it go all the way to 20%. Okay, now you see the GIFs have different sizes. In the back, they're small. In the front, they're much bigger. Alright, but you notice they're not actually in the front. Putting them backwards. We never actually noticed that with the bulbs because we didn't overlap them. But for the GIFs, we want to overlap. So, we have to change the Z offset. And we can also do this with Y. Z offset equals, let's just say Y. This is a floating point. And the higher, the closer they are to the front, the closer they should be to the front. And it's getting hard to see that now, so let's just clear them out. So the small ones in the back, and near the front, they get bigger. I mean, this is probably the right size, but I'd like to see the effect more pronounced. So let's make it even a little, let's make it not just a little bit, like a lot bit bigger. Actually, let's start at 15%. I want them to get tiny in the background. No, mainly I wanted the size we had before, but because you're never going to click right at the far back, we'll start at 15 and see what happens. And okay, so that's actually making it more look like there's a little bit of perspective here. And you might want to put a shadow or something, but that's not important. So we have some GIFs. What I'd like to do, though, is you see the ones in the back. It'd be kind of nice if these were behind the tree. So the question, how do we do that? We're going to have to split these up because we can't, each doesn't have a filter on it. It's one of these proposed feature requests that maybe each should have a filter. And it's actually something I started working on today. Was we have some refactoring work to do in this each that'll make such things possible. Right now, the code is a little bit too complex to add a filtering statement to it. We have in each, but let's do it. Let's do it actually in the JavaScript code. It has a filter, and so we could have something like get front GIFs. And I believe this makes a getter. And let's use JavaScript filter. I opened up the reference before because I'll never remember how to do this. And this will be returned this.gifs dot filter to gift, and we need to return a condition. And how do we want to return a condition? Let's say return gifs dot y is greater than, I don't know, where should it be? What cutoff do we have? Let's just say 30% for now. And these are expressed as a factor. And then we have get back GIFs. And with all working with floating point, though it's extremely unlikely something is going to land exactly in 0.3, you should be consistent. Make sure, look, if this is greater than, this has to be less than equals. Otherwise, you might actually skip one. And so we have front and back GIFs. Now we have to change the main. And we're going to have to split this panel up into two. And I'm going to copy it because there's enough things that are different. Add a gift, add a gift. This is where it's going to be really weird, but now I want one on top of all of this where I actually add the GIFs. Because I only have one panel adding them. And wait, how do I want to do this? These actually both have to be the same size. Because they still both have the GIFs. The GIFs are relative to the whole item. And it's just the ordering. So really the difference is only the Z offset here is -1, so it goes to the background. And this will go behind the tree. And we don't need this one. We only need the top one to accept the clicked and the place GIFs and the hip bounce, so that's fine. And these are back GIFs. And these are front GIFs. Now this duplication looks really weird though, because it's really doing the exact same thing, because we're only just doing it for the visual layout. And oh, something went wrong. Get front GIFs. Do these have to look like functions? Maybe. GIFs.filter. Supposed to be a filter there. Get front, yes, return unexpected token. What is the unexpected token? Did we do something wrong? Not according to this, we didn't. This that gifts the filter gift returns to gift. Why? Does anybody see what we've done wrong here? 36. Somewhere around here. Doesn't make much sense. Do we have to put parentheses on here? Maybe it's just not supported in our transpiler yet. No, it doesn't like that. Oh, you know what it is? It's the return, I bet. These equals here, they imply a return value. Is that a problem? That looks like our problem. Oh, well, I screwed something up. Yeah, I forgot to resize it again. We actually discussed this a bit. We're not entirely sure how to fix that issue because it's a nice, perfect storm of situations coming up. Alright, so we have a gift behind the tree and a gift in front of the tree, which is good. That's what we wanted. Those are behind and these ones are in front. Alright, that actually looks pretty good. We can put gifts around the tree. It's just a minimal effect. Obviously there's not a lot of depth to this image. And the ones in front of the tree, you don't really see that they're in front of the tree very much, but if you had an ornament on them, you'd see that also they're in front of the gifts. And so I think that does it for our presents. We've added some presents to the tree. And okay, so yeah, we added presents. So we want to do the random presents, which I think is okay. We don't need to palette for everything. If you add too many, it's going to look weird. Maybe if I had a graphic that separated it out more, but that would be okay. Not because there's just way too many of them. And you can add the snow. And now with so many gifts, you're actually going to see the snow in the bottom. You can see it fall over. It no longer just disappears. And this clicking, when I click it, it's having a hard time whenever it creates a new item, also when they get to the top. Well, I think we have to do some profiling on this to figure out exactly why this is. Again, I have the streaming running in the background, which consumes a significant amount of CPU, despite having it on the fastest mode, which claims to use 10 to 20%. It's actually, last we checked, like more like 80-90% of CPU time on 2 cores, so almost one entire core. But still, this looks like it's taking long. It's whenever an item's created and released, that's where the break is. You can tell when it hits the bottom, it's because it's removing one item and creating a new one at the top. And that's what's taking the time. And I think I have to figure out where that is. This could be partially because we're doing it based on ID, whereas before with the observable system, we'd be able to push in directly on it. And I'll have to just bring them up. Let's just clear it for now and see what it's like. So if you had just a reasonable number, that shouldn't happen. Put one in front of the tree. So if we just have a few of them, we notice it should be okay. And then I can check this in the standalone version too to see maybe Preview has a little bit of a performance overhead because it's dynamically creating a lot of things as opposed to having them statically created. Okay, so the presents didn't take as long as I thought. I don't know, if anybody has a preference for working on the palette or adding Santa Claus in. What should we do now? Well, let's look at Santa Claus if we have something else. I don't know how we want to trigger Santa Claus. I just put a button up there. Is there a... Well, let's add the button first. This tree panel, let's put this in another panel though, because it's starting to be a little bit much. Let's have... This is weird. Why is the background in front of the tree? Oh, because this layer goes back on, duh. Okay. And this is a tree panel. Oh, I keep using the wrong key. put this all in a tree panel so we can keep an overview of what's going on. And does anything actually use the tree? UX. What did I say this was? Tree panel. We'll find out if anything used that name or not. Treepanel.ux. Appears to not cared, so I don't think anybody's using that name, so tree panel works fine. Tree panel, that gives us a cleaner main view here. Let's make sure it still works after I separated it. Yeah, it's still fine. So now we have to add a Santa panel. This is going to be behind the tree panel. And because Santa Claus will be in the background, so we'll have a Santa panel. And we'll just, from the start, do this other way. What I don't like too much is that tree panel here, it decides its sizing on its own. And, that's fine. It's, yeah, okay, it's complaining now that there is no, of course, Santa panel. So let's create one of those. Santa panel.ux. And I had an asset for this. ls assets, or where is it? Santa ping. It just picked them somewhere. X equals 50%, Y equals 20%. File equals assets slash Santa ping. I don't know what size he is, so let's just give him a height of 70. Let's not accept the natural size. Let's see if we have a Santa or we have a defect. Oh, Santa Claus is there. So I just said I made a slight error in this graphic. I separated it out, but you notice it's slightly tilted, which is going to make it a slight more difficult for us to deal with. And I don't think I have any graphics tools on this system to fix that. Let me quickly check in Finder if I do. Oh, I hate the file browser in Mac. Okay. I want to go to Home. Give me a home directory. Home. Source user, where am I? Use demos, Christmas tree, assets, and Santa. Is there any sort of editing program? Preview, color sync, Firefox. Does preview let us rotate? I highly doubt it. Edit. No. So I don't have a quick way to edit this. So we're going to have to sort of... Oh, wait. No, that's not what I intended. We can't just rotate a little bit, unfortunately. So I have no idea. So we're just going to have to realize that it's slightly rotated. And that's going to make a bit of a problem. But we'll just make him going up or across. It's okay. We'll adjust the path. Like what I want to do is I want to animate his path. And we're going to make him just, let's just do this. We're going to say UX. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to put transformation. Let's put him way off to the right side. Let's start him at 110%. This makes actual perfect sense. We don't want him to immediately show up. We'll put him 20%. And we're going to put a while visible, which is always going to be true, which is fine. And we'll put a move on here. We're going to move. Actually, this should be a wrapping timeline. Yeah, let's do that instead. We're going to want to repeat timeline play mode equals wrap. And we want to move, well, I just stick it directly inside move. No target, just move. X equals minus. Now we have to account for the whole width of Santa Claus. It's like, yeah, okay, Lewis. I don't have my Slack open right now. I'm trying to avoid having trade secrets shown on the screen. I wonder if I can actually attach it here, though. I don't know where I can send it. Let's just deal with it. Sorry about this. Thanks for the offer. Let's just, before I waste too much time figuring out how to get this to you without opening Slack, let's just deal with it rotated for now. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference for us, but thanks for the offer. Okay, so let's just make this move across. Move 1.2 relative to equals parent size duration equals, I don't know how fast you move across, like 3 seconds? And yeah, and y equals, let's just move him very slightly upwards. And this is how I'm going to take care of the rotation of him. Just make him move slightly upwards the whole time, and then we don't have to worry about him. Let's see if this actually works. Oh, no, of course it doesn't work. I did something wrong. Data type not found. Santa panel. No, no, no. Image, image. Oh, yeah. And we have Santa Claus going. Okay, so we didn't wait long enough to take him off the screen. And he's going too far up. Oh man, I'm trying to think of how we can make this look better. Okay, so clearly that's going too far first of all. And it needs to go quicker, or further. So let's do minus 1.5. And that's actually starting further out of the screen, so it doesn't show up right away. Or we could put a delay on this, actually, that makes sense too. It's just starting at 110%, but we can have a delay of 1 second, so it doesn't happen right away. And rotate delay equals 1 degrees. And let's slowly rotate him in the negative direction, but not very much. Duration equals 5 as well. Let's see what he does. Yeah. And it's it's kind of a cheap animation, but you kind of get the idea that he slowly rotates across the screen. And maybe now I shouldn't make the Y go up so much. Maybe he should almost go down now. That might make it look more like he's actually flying. He should actually go up and down. Okay. Which is going to put us a timeline here. We're going to use keyframes for this. I don't use keyframes very often, so let's see. Keyframe. X equals Y equals. Do I want do I need to do X at the same time? Y equals 0.1. Man, I never remember how to use keyframe. I forget the syntax, I don't use it very often. There's other ways to do this. You could rotate them around a central key as well, but I think keyframe works here well. Keyframe time equals 2.5. Actually, I think I have a relative time. Well, the example's broken. Kind of sucks for that. Time delta. We won't use delta. Keyframe, then x equals minus 1.5, y equals, so 0.1, 0.1, time equals 5.0. And I forget, I don't think we can use a delay on here. We might have to just keep it. And let's see what happens with this. Oh, that's pretty brutal. It's like linear. It's really, really much too. Well, let's just play with it because there are some options here. Just to show you the options, it's not. We have keyframe interpolation. So let's look for interpolation. I think it's called keyframe interpolation. And it's on what class? It's on doesn't matter. Keyframe interpolation. I don't even know what it is. You'd think it'd be smooth by default, but I don't think it is. I think it's like linear by default. Wow, that was a weird smooth transition. Let's put the X as a separate one, so you can show how you can split this up as well. This isn't just for the purpose of... We'll just show that you can split these things up, and duration equals 5. And then we can just do Y over here. Y. This also has to be relative to equals parent size. And so you because we want to continually travel X across the side. And that's not so bad now. I mean, probably another keyframe in here. Frame Y equals, I don't know. You can make it stick at this one a bit longer. Time equals 3.0. And that'll make the curve a bit smoother. Ideally, we'd have a visual editor for this, and I think it's one of the things in sort of the long-term plan that you'll have a visual editor. And I'm wondering if maybe it's getting confused because of this. So let's put the actual, I think it might be missing initial frame. The initial frame is 0, time equals 0. I don't know what it starts with otherwise. -1 and right in the middle, and minus 0 and 0.5 right at the end. You can only edit this so long. Let's just see. I'll just leave it at this. That's weird. Why is it starting high up? You know what? I think this might be because of the delay. Let's get rid of the delay. And alright, that should be good enough. Okay, he disappears too early though again, so let's let him move even further. And I don't have a good way to do this based on the width of the screen, which is going to make him move even faster because he's moving more area now. So you have Santa Claus going across the back, and that should be fine. He's going to keep going across the back whenever, so now I can put snowflakes in front of him too. Put some ornaments on the tree. Make him drop some gifts as he comes by. One behind the tree as well. And so now we have our little animation with Santa Claus going through. It's not a great curve. Ideally, I just like to draw it. And with one of the new features I did recently, you could actually animate him directly across a curve. And I like to integrate that into the keyframes. The keyframes here, these are spleens. When you say smooth, this is a smooth spleen. You can even specify tangents here. So if we actually have a visual editor that can produce the curve, this will follow the curve exactly. I mean, it just, I'm limited in what I can do right here. And let's make them rotate a tad bit more, for example, and it should be fine. But that covers it. We have Santa Claus there as well now. I don't know, you should always appear. You probably shouldn't appear so often. And this is one of those ones that, well, how do I make something appear every so often? Like, what if I don't want to appear? We could keep increasing this delay, but this becomes a bit weird because it starts getting all these numbers are weird. So we don't even want this delay. So let's fix this. We're not going to have a wrap. This is going to play through once. This is the Santa anim. And we're going to get rid of the delay. We'll leave that there. We're going to get rid of the delay. It has no delay. It takes 5 seconds. This goes down. Maybe it takes 6 seconds. I don't want it to go so fast still. And this will go once now. Oh, those snowflakes are in sync when we restart. And it has no play mode, so timelines by default just do nothing. And this is where we're going to pulse it once. We could tie this to an event, But let's actually just make it come up every so often instead. Play mode equals wrap. And pulse forward, delay equals. Let's make him come across every... He comes across 6 seconds, so you have to give him enough time to do it. Yeah, no, this should be fine. So in 10 seconds, these are kind of hard to debug when you have to wait 10 seconds or something, but if we did this right, which we couldn't have possibly done because this is missing a target. Maybe I should have started with 1 second. That would have made a lot more sense. Alright, give it 10 seconds. Are we up to 10 seconds yet? There we go. So in 10 seconds it did it. We have to get rid of this though, because it's a little bit off balance now. And so it looks like it. 10 seconds it's doing it. And so it doesn't come up. We have no delay, but it still delays it. Does it go away now? Yeah. And, well, let's see what happens. The rotation here is also possibly not ideal because we're rotating based on its position points. So it's going to change the position as well. We should have put an anchor in the middle, but that's good enough. I just wanted to show a little animation in the background that comes every so often. And add some GIFs, and that's everything we have. So we have our Christmas tree now. It has GIFs. It has a Santa who can deliver gifts. And we have our little palette up top. I'm not so happy with the way the palette is done, but it should be good enough. So, because we don't want to put a gift selector, we'll just leave the gifts at random, which doesn't leave me with a lot more to do on this example. It's I think, unless somebody has, unless we want to put a star, but I don't have a star graphic right now. And what else could we possibly do? There's lights. Yeah, lights was the other thing I wanted to do. Alright, so let's do the lights. And we're just going to have fun with these lights a bit. And we're going to create a light panel here. You know, I'm going to go to Git, and I'm going to add all this stuff first of all. Git status, git add Santa, and tree. Adding GIFs and Santa. I can never tell Santa correctly. I don't know why. We'll push that up there. Oh, man. So it's up in the Git repository now. And let's close off Santa. Let's close off... Well, we need a tree panel. The tree panel is where the lights will be. We don't need to see a candle. We don't need to see the falling snow. We don't need the ornaments. We don't need the bulb. We don't need the color candle palette. We need the lights. And the lights go on the tree. Now I actually have some lights, and if you see in the main view, these have already been loaded, lights 1, 2, and 3, and 4. These are files. I think I updated them. And, oh man, I hope I saved them the same size as the tree. If these are not saved the same size as the tree, we're going to have a problem doing this. And the lights go on top of the tree. Behind, beside, I don't know where it is. Put it behind the elements. So image file equals assets slash. Actually, no, we're going to set this up correctly. Source equals resource lights. We could have just hard coded these though. I don't know why I did it this way. I think this was just from the old example I did that used to have lights on it. But these are not the same lights. And let's see what happens. They should put some lights on it. This one doesn't look like it's in the best of positions. It's okay. We have one light sticking out. It's not perfect, but let's put the other lights down. Lights 1, 2, and 3. Now you understand why I did these lights. These lights aren't quite in the right position. Now, why is that? This is weird. These are not the lights I saved. That's the reason why. Because I didn't finish doing the lights. That's why. Sorry, I actually didn't split off the lights. These are the old files, so the file should be... And those are the lights I want. Now, what I was trying to do with the other lights there, and what I can't do now because I didn't split the file, is I wanted to have 4 different sets of lights so that we could light them up differently. Because, you know, these are white lights. It's obviously you don't want white lights, but the purpose of this white is so that you can apply different colors here, like AAF, and now have blue lights. Well, more blue lights. Okay, so you have blue lights. So I was hoping to have 4 different sets of lights so you could actually rotate and by around, and without the graphics separated, this gets really kind of tricky to do. I don't know if we can actually do it otherwise. Let's clear everything else off. Yeah, I don't know if we can actually... We can make the color cycle, though. There's not much more we can do unless I want to... Maybe I can do it for tomorrow. I can split off the lights for tomorrow. But let's just do this. UX name equals lights. And how do we want to circle through the colors? We can do a keyframe again, I guess. So we have a timeline. Play mode equals wrap. And we're going to change lights.color. I'm not entirely certain how the interpolation will be done. I think it'll just be linear interpolation. AFA. No, we'll just do it this way. This has to be a keyframe again. Keyframe. And let's start with AFA at the start. Time equals 0. Keyframe value equals, let's make them green then. And we'll keep a fairly high white factor so they're fairly green. And let's just see if this is working first of all. Nope. Did something wrong. Target, yeah, it changed, yeah, okay. Lights.color. So they look like they might be changing color, but this is really not that satisfying of a change. So let's make them really bright, not nice white lights. Make them garish, colorful, full saturated lights. There we go. And it's going to skip at the back because it goes back that way. But let's make it change to a bunch more colors of lights. Value equals. Do some yellow lights. 2 keyframe value equals, then some red lights, then to blue, and then we have to make it switch back to the start color again, otherwise it's going to abruptly switch at the end of the loop. Because we're doing a timeline wrap repeat, it jumps back to the start, so we're going to manually replay that last frame. Whereas if you had another animator that played forward and backwards and interpolated, but we don't do the circular interpolation here. So now you can see the lights changing colors. Blue looks really weird, like nobody actually has that type of blue light. So let's put some purple in there instead. Red is a bit too intense. And more white than that. That looks good. That looks good. Quick drink. So now we have the lights there. Again, let's add some snow to it. I put the lights behind the ornaments. So if you hang an ornament, it covers up the lights. And now you can put presents on there as well. So I didn't split off the lights. What I wanted to do with the lights is to make this more interesting, is put 4 groups of lights, so each one going across would be in its own group. So you'd have sets of 4, because then you could literally animate the lights moving, and we could do more with JavaScript. We can actually say, well, let's animate them going back and forth. We can animate the starting point, and now, but this is just one big graphic. I can't modify much lights independently. You might want to say, well, we can make all the lights individual objects as well. And I actually saved off a path file, an SVG file that contains all those coordinates. But seeing what problems we were having with the snowflakes and the presence and all that stuff, I don't think that's a good idea. Having like, I guess it's probably like 50, 60 little lights on there. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for it. But this is enough to show the animation. Like I say, the only thing we're missing is some kind of star. And let's just throw a star on the tree. We'll just make it fixed. And we're going to draw it entirely in Fuse. I don't have a star. We have a star function. Let's just go with that, and star num points equals 5, x equals 50%, y equals 0%, anchor equals 50%, comma 50%, and let's just make it really bright and ugly at first. Width, or let's make it height again too. Height of the tree should be about probably 7%. And watch it complain about something, probably points. It's not num points, it's just points, right? Where's my star? Probably needs a width as well. I don't think there, or let's just do box sizing equals fill aspect. Okay, it's green and it's tiny, so let's make it yellow and give it a nice border, because the tree is a nice border. Gotta make it bigger. Big star. There, now the tree has a star on it. A stroke width a little bit less and a little bit brighter. That's a bit too dark. And we have a star, and it should be a little bit higher up though, like actually on the top of the tree, or I'll make it bigger, but I think I don't want to make it bigger. So let's put it -2%. That moves it up a bit, -4%. Oh, too far. And technically the center is more like 49%, it looks like. And this is more like 2.5%. I'm just visualizing. Oh no, it really is 50%. 49.5? How close am I? No, let's just go back to 50. That was actually pretty close. So now we have a star on there. And this is a fairly pointy star. Nothing else here is pointy. This is one of those weird features. I think it actually has some more options on it. Or maybe they disappeared. We have a undocumented star. This is undocumented because it was actually going to be deprecated at some point when we had an old drawing API for this, and it was done on that. And this was all marked as deprecated, but it was only when I introduced the new Surface API that we recovered this. So it probably never got documented because we thought it was going to be gone and just wasn't documented to start with. So the round ratio was 0.2. I don't even know what this represents. Okay, so round, it's fairly round. Maybe too round. And ratio, probably 0.5, so let's make it less indented. Ratio is like the dip of the spikes. So now we have a really soft star up there. And stars, like I say, one of these classes is just like a quick placeholder. I mean, realistically, I don't think your graphic designer is probably not going to let you get away with using this star for anything. But it's a good fill-in. When you quickly need a star, it fills in and you have it. And you could probably use you can use an SVG path instead. So Let's just make this more fun. Let's add a linear gradient to this one. Instead of a solid color, let's add a linear gradient, and it's a gradient stop at equals 0 value equals. Let's start at its full value. So this is just another feature. And what color should it go to? I don't know. Let's just make it go to white first of all so we see what it's like. Take off this color, otherwise it'll have two brushes on it. Oh, it didn't like something. Probably offset. Gradient stop does not have a property called at. So it's probably offset. Value. Alright, let me just look this up before I guess it. Gradient stop. Color and offset color. There. Now it actually has that. It goes from top to bottom. And now when I think about it, I actually have an editor here. I should be able to go into selection mode and select this thing. Hello? Can I select this? Wow, I think we've... Falling snow. Let's take the tree panel. Can I go inside the tree panel? Alright, let's just go in the tree panel. There's a star. You see the star? Good, that's what we wanted. And the colors are down here. I have a linear gradient. So I should have come here to start with. I mean, I haven't entered. This is the purpose of having this thing. So we can modify it. But we have a... Oh, it looks to be missing something, though. There's a start and end point. Maybe it's not so good. You don't want the gradient going from top to bottom. So let's check that. Where is that? Why is it not in the editor? Maybe I'm just not seeing it. There's a linear gradient right here. Oops, that was bad. What do I do? Let's remove one. How do I remove one? No good. No good. Alright, got one. Very good. Yeah, so it doesn't have all the options in it. So I can go back to my nice compact view. Whoops. Uh-oh. Did something wrong. Alright, well, while we let that fail, man, that's bad. What did I do wrong? I'll just start that up again. And while it's starting, let me just go do this the normal or the way in here. It has a start point and an end point. So we want to start in the upper left corner and the end point. We don't want to go quite to the bottom left corner. I'll just say 0.2, 1. And that'll give it a slight change. And we don't want this white color at the end. Put it in the middle maybe so it gets white right away, and then it goes back to being mainly yellow at the end. Okay, so you have it slightly yellow at the front, but we want it really yellow, and this is one of the cases where you're going to duplicate gradient points. You say, no, it's actually yellow. It's going to make a hard transition there. And so now we have more room. We had this kind of high ridge, and because it's transitioning a lot, when you do that, you can sort of see the highlights. It's very weak, but there's a sort of shining star on it now. That's just enough to get our effect. Again, you know, your designer probably won't let you do this, won't let you use a star, but it's a decent placeholder. Santa, by the way, is also white. We could change the color of Santa Claus as well. Let's go to Santa panel. We didn't say, like, right, we can make him so mysterious instead. Let's make him mysterious purple instead. And we can do a linear gradient there as well. Or we can just make them slightly, maybe our star is super bright, so it's shining off of Santa Claus. So Santa Claus is yellow as it goes by our star. You could do a linear gradient here as well. I'm not going to do too much, but let's make them just very slightly yellow. Just because our star is super bright. And if you really wanted, you could change this color as it reaches the middle of it. So that as he reaches the star, it would shine on him and get yellow. These are just some silly options you can do. I just want to show off some of the different things you can do with animation. So this one uses a timeline with some very poorly chosen keyframes that almost make it look like Santa's flying. I make him rotate more. Sorry, I said I wouldn't play with this, but I want to play with it. Does it look better? Almost, almost. What does Santa do now? Yeah, let's leave him like that. Over excessive rotation Santa. You know, Santa's hit a lot of houses, been a lot to drink, a lot in the eggnog. Let's give it some more snow, just so we see how the whole thing looks again. Add some bulbs to the tree, add some presents below the tree, and don't press the trash can, we don't want the trash can. Presents are random. We can add different bulbs by selecting up here. Let's add the fancy one that you can't see much of. It's getting ugly. It's perfect. That's what we want on an ugly tree. Oh, we haven't fixed the issue with the anchoring of the candles. And we could add more bulbs. But I think I'm actually going to leave it at that for now. We did quite a bit. I don't want to get too much. There is a way to fix the anchoring, and this will involve redoing the panels. And I think I have a nicer way to do this because this little bar up here is kind of ugly. I'd rather just have a little selection saying what's being edited. You can click on it to pull out the panel. Then we could also make a present selection, and we could put a randomness. But maybe we do this tomorrow. If there's enough people interested again, I can just start it up, do it tomorrow. And it's probably the most interesting one in terms of actual practical UI. Most of the stuff's in a bit of silly animation, but actually getting those palettes at the top working would be a really functional, really helpful example on how to get an AI, because this does actually come up. Even in business apps, you quite often have a little slider. You want to choose something from the top, and I need more snow in here. It's not enough. I don't care if it goes slow. Oops, I added a candle in the middle of nowhere. Oh, there we go. Shining candle. So maybe tomorrow I'll go over the palette, and those are at the top, how to do that. We could also make a color selector, because it came up recently in one of the questions, how to do a color selector. So we can make a generic bulb and then add a color selector to it. Those are some options. I don't know what else we could do. I can fix the lights, so we do the lights independently, so we can have obnoxious rotating lights and make pattern lights, and maybe find a star. If anybody has a star they want to use, like a public domain one, we could throw that in there too. Either as an image or an SVG path, because in the SVG path we can color it in the program, which is sometimes nice. And I think that's about it. If you have any suggestions what you want to do, just send it to this chat or watch tomorrow, or send me on Twitter. If you want, you can log into the Fuse Slack as well and ask something about it there. I'll push up these changes up to Git right away, and actually let me do that right now. We have, put this in the background, Git status. Is there anything actually changed? There is a commit. What did we add? I don't remember. A colorful star, yeah. I'll push that up there so it's in my repository right now. And let me just grab you the URL for that so I can throw it in there. This will be GitHub. Probably have it here, Fuse Demos. I wonder how much that reveals my quick typing. You look at the screens. Hopefully not much. And here it is, Christmas tree. It's the code for it. This is using the model system. You're going to have to get the Fuse.js demo. That'll have to be available through Slack. Hopefully we have this stuff merged in the near future. Why do I have a movie open somewhere? Hopefully this will be merged somewhere in the early new year. we're just working through to make sure everything works. This demo actually helps in one respect, is that this demo is the first thing we have using selection with the model, and I'm very happy that it works. I have one thing I have to do to clean up on it, and because right now it's only based on strings, but we'd like objects, but that's okay. We can do that another time. I'll get to that time. My cleanup of instance has to be done first. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy our tree. This is our tree here. Throw right in the middle. Enjoy the final tree. And make sure you subscribe to the channel either on Twitch or on YouTube if you want to catch it after the fact. Not live on YouTube, but you can still watch it. I upload after. Follow me on Twitter, and be sure to check out Fuse if you've not done it before. And if you don't catch me tomorrow, then I wish you a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you very much.